Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club for people hate reading. This month we're doing dramas, so I picked the movie Run Silent, Run Deep, made in 1958, and we bring you movie news at the end of the program. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, and Ryan Princess Preston. So who has the description of the show?
The princess.
Of this movie.
Description,
the princess of this movie. Hi, princess of the movie.
What? Shut up.
So what's the description?
Run Silent, Run Deep, 1958. A U.S. sub-commander obsessed with sinking a certain Japanese ship butts heads with his first officer and crew.
So
that's pretty concise.
Yeah.
So who wants to go first? Because I'll do it if nobody else wants to.
I'll go with the princess.
Please, allow me. Since I'm royalty. I just found out 10 seconds ago that this was a novel. And my first thought was, wow, this must have been the most goddamn boring novel ever written.
No shit.
No, that's Moby Dick.
Moby Dick at least had its moments of, like really good obsession. You know what I mean? This was like sort of this kind of half-assed obsession, like, oh yeah, we're gonna go out there, but anyway. This movie telegraphed the ending really quickly. Like half an hour into it, you kind of like, oh, okay, I see where this is gonna go.
Half an hour?
Right at the mutiny point, when they were kind of having that little discussion in the cabin, that's when I realized, like, oh, okay, I know where the rest of this movie's gonna go. And
actually,
I wonder if I could just take a nap until like the end of this. Until whatever happens.
Clark Gable stopped working for 2 days when he found out that he was supposed to have a mutiny happen, and then he stopped working for 2 days until they rewrote it to where he kind of injured himself and got sick.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He didn't.
He threw a tantrum.
According to the IMDb or Wikipedia, it's because he didn't want to ruin the
perception he had on film.
Yeah. So instead of being a big tough guy.
Wow.
Blah, blah, blah,
okay,
blah.
which brings me to my next point. Fucking actors. All right, look. My biggest point about movies that are made, obviously pre-color, is that a lot of these play like stage performances. So you get a lot of really big, over-the-top movements and actory kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like, everything's a little larger than life, a little more overly dramatic, and you don't have the kind of nuance, obviously, that you find nowadays in modern dramas.
I think that depends on the black and white movie. I think this one's more of an epic, which presents itself more to being everything trying to be bigger than life.
I got a question.
Wait a minute. Do you mean epic by the maybe 4.5 shots that they had that were not inside of a soundstage?
Pretty much.
Did you ever watch Tora?
I don't recall if I actually ever did see that movie.
Okay, never mind. I'll come back to that later. I'll come back to that later.
Well,
go.
I meant epic far as, it's a tale in the ocean. It's a World War II naval.
The scope was supposed to be big.
Yeah, that's why I think it was kind of like, constantly.
But the last...
You win.
15 minutes was the real climactic moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that... You got more?
Not necessarily. If you guys wanted to start.
All right. Well, I'll jump into it because I kind of got a little bit different of a scope of this one than you do. As far as I could see, I thought that Burt Lancaster and Clark Gable, for the roles that they had, did a good job with them. Because this was not supposed to be one that was, I guess, not to say overly acted, but as you're saying in black and white movies,
it's a product of the end of the times, not necessarily of their skill.
But I thought the benefit of it is you really saw the rivalry they had, which I actually thought played really well on screen.
I thought Clark Gable and Burt Lancaster did a great job of the tension that they were supposed to have because they're two captains. One has the rank to take over the ship, and the other one is supposed to be in charge of the ship, and there was some tension there, and I thought that they did a really good job portraying that. But then if you read kind of the IMDb trivia and things that happened on the set, there really was tension between those two.
Which I really do think added to it.
I think it did too.
As much as you hate to see, actors taking over a set, I actually think that really added to the I hate you,
Yeah, it was kind of...
That might have been the only reason why those two seemed like people, and the rest of the crew was like out of a, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea Disney movie or something.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say, is that there was the side characters, everybody kind of else, there was a lot of stretch on those guys.
The weirdest one I thought was the kid who bet number 7.
Yeah, I was going to say, I kind of felt bad for him. And then he gets crushed by a torpedo.
Yeah, not so lucky.
I thought he was an extremely useless ancillary character.
That was number 6 torpedo.
Yeah, it really was like, hey, care about this character for 15 seconds, then we're going to kill him.
Well, see, I didn't really care about him. It was more like, why is this dopey kid on a submarine?
And then the other one that I was a little put off by is the fact that there was some really harsh cuts, if you see.
Yeah, there were.
There's one that, even if you don't know what I mean by a harsh cut, you could actually see it very visible, is when the guy gets stuck out throwing the trash.
Yeah.
And then they come out and they're kind of bitching at everybody over it, and you see Clark Gable kind of get this really, like he's talking, then all of a sudden there's like this really sharp cut, and it's like, whoa, that was a really bad edit.
The interesting thing about that was actually a World War II submarine. It was the USS Redfish. It was used for all the exterior shots.
And the other thing is, I guess I missed the subtitles or something. I wasn't on. Were there subtitles for the Japanese scenes?
The copy I watched, I didn't see them.
Yeah.
They might have been there, but I didn't actually see them.
I could understand what was going on, kind of with the looks and the way that they...
Yeah, pretty much.
Because
I guess on what was happening in the other ship.
I guess what I would say is, if Ryan was looking for parts that were characterized really well, the Japanese scenes would be really good for black and white.
Yeah. And especially because they were actually Asian.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy for 1958.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about war movies that from the 50s and some even into the 60s, the further you get back towards World War II, the more accurate the actual wartime shit was.
I was going to bring that up too.
The inside of that ship, the submarine, really looked like more authentic almost than usual, just because it probably was.
That's because the director actually brought submariners in to advise them and to show everybody
in World War II.
Not only that, according to what I was reading, a lot of those the mechanisms and the stuff in there were legitimate submarine parts. Like they actually got parts from the U.S. Department of the Navy.
Whereas
to set it up.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you'd have people trying to do research on it, but some stuff might be new, some stuff might be old. You'd have a lot of people like, well, that's from a 1990s ship or whatever.
And that one's 1994.
See, that was the one thing I thought this movie did better than everybody else, is the mechanical nature of the submarine. The way they did it, I thought was probably the best submarine movie I've ever seen interior-wise.
Yeah.
Because I've seen movies where they show... a little tiny submarine, but you get in, it's like Soundstage B, and there's 300 feet from one side of the sub to the other.
Yeah, and there was
a few of those moments. You can tell a lot from the water behind the ship. You can't scale water down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can shoot a small ship and make it look big, but the water is still the same.
Yeah,
so it looks a little off.
Yeah, I saw the same thing that he's talking about, but
like Team America World Police.
What he was bringing in about the accuracy of the time is, I have yet to see a movie past 50s, 60s that really brought in Tokyo Rose again too.
No, I agree, because it's not
cool, man.
It's not PC.
Exactly.
When they had her, I was like, oh, that's amazing, because you're right. And unless it's something that's going to be very, very specific that she has to be in, you never hear of Tokyo Rose.
And for audience out there, maybe under our age, who has no idea what I mean by Tokyo Rose, is that was the name given to any broadcaster from Japanese propaganda that was a female. I think there was 5 different female broadcasters that were given the name Tokyo Rose.
And if I remember correctly, there was an actual American of Japanese descent.
Yeah, but the point is there actually was those broadcasts, and it was like that. And the point of it was like anti-propaganda for us, you know.
Exactly.
You know, I was going to say the mace. Oh, sorry.
The last thing I was going to bring up is there's a couple scenes in there where they actually show how tight the quarters are in a submarine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought they did a pretty good job of showing the damage that depth charges and the hectic nature of what that would cause in a sub. I thought they did a good job on that.
Yeah, it really wasn't bad, especially for obviously the technology that they had at the time. I mean, it was a combination, I think, of practical sort of moving whatever they were in around, and then good cinematography, sort of matching it. But really subtle. They didn't overdo it. You know, it wasn't like the Starship Enterprise, everybody flying over railings.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to mention is that they did use models in this, which was an outdated technology.
Yeah.
That wasn't like really bad for this movie. I thought it was actually. I didn't think it took away from it. I thought the models were really well built.
There were some scenes that really there was a couple of shots that it kind of took me out of. It's like, oh, it's a model, but they actually did a really good job, because those scenes I don't remember weren't long. They weren't like some movies that all you see is this little tiny toy submarine. So I thought those were pretty good.
The only shot really that actually showed the big scope of how big that sub was right in the beginning when they were leaving the port.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing was so damn long, I thought there was going to be a sign on the back that says, "We break for nobody."
That would be awesome.
Again, people our age and maybe a little older will get that one.
But I mean, they were on a budget, you know. So.
Well, obviously.
The one thing about this movie that I thought was probably the most interesting, they had the same pacing the entire movie. There was a couple of scenes where it sped up, but mainly it was boom, boom. I mean, you could time your watch by it. It was almost so
but you know, that was the thing that, you know, I agree with Ryan on, is that for me, knowing that this was from a novel. That's got to be boring.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly,
the novel was a lot more procedural and a lot more technical. You know what I mean? And because I mean, notice how many times it was just the dialogue was "man the hatch, man the hatch, man the hatch," and then down the hallway, "man the hatch," and then, you know, whatever the hell. It was just.
Well, that was one of the reasons that I actually thought this worked better, was because it did that. You know. I thought the fact that it kept you, that you kept seeing the way it actually was, I actually thought that was one of the better points of it, you know, was the fact you got to see the, you know, flank speed, another guy in the engine room, flank speed, sir, you know. I actually thought that was part of the charm of the movies. You got to see how the submarines work.
Well, I mean, I could see that, but
it seems like they kind of overused the. I mean, look, this movie was an hour and a half long. How much of that was shouting orders?
Well, 20-30 minutes.
The question really should be, how true to form was that, though? Because if that was true to form, then it should have been there. If that was just, you know, a movie alliteration, then they definitely should have left it out.
I mean, you know, it's just most people sort of pick a perspective instead of showing like, oh, let's you know, you do it once and then you pick your perspective after that. I don't know. I'm not trying to tell a guy how to do his job. I'm just saying the movie was slow.
Well, yeah, that's why I actually like this movie, but man, this is one of the few movies I've ever seen where the pacing never changes, and they tried to create the sense of tension throughout the entire movie. Did not work.
Not really.
I mean, they didn't really, you know, because what I thought they should have done is intense scene, playing background music, really play that up instead of, oh, they're tense the entire hour and a half movie.
Yeah, I get that, but I don't know. I think I kind of go with Ryan on that one, that the pacing was dreary.
I think that. Do you think that was done on purpose, or do you think that was the time?
I think it kind of was. I think it kind of was done on purpose, because they're basic.
I think also another thing that might be sort of a product of the times. I mean, movies were a little slower. We're not, you know, we are used to kind of this like, oh, where's my car chase opening scene? You know, so obviously it's not that, but I don't think it was meant to be.
But I think this movie was the plot of this movie was one man's journey for vindication.
Which one? Because it seemed like
Clark Gable.
Because to me it was more like not vindication, more like vengeance. It was because he wanted to get back at this ship for killing his crew and sinking his sub, so he went out of his way to, kind of
I could see
keelhaul another
Vengeance,
captain.
but as far as he had lost the respect of practically all the Navy.
I guess I could see
that. The fact that he even survived that first submarine explosion in the first place I was like, really?
It's Clark Gable.
So do you think this was the fridge in the nuclear bomb scene for the time? Or because that's what it kind of seemed like. It's like,
no, that's kind of cold. that's just mean.
Because that's what to me it was like. It's like, okay, so he's a couple of fathoms underwater, and somehow when he explodes, everything's peachy keen. He's sitting on this.
He rode the bubble up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but
that fridge, boy.
Yeah, I don't know.
It seemed like I don't know if we said it on this or if it was before we were talking on the show, but somebody brought up Moby Dick. And it's still sticking in my head. Like, this is a boring Moby Dick.
Yeah. Because
Moby Dick was boring. Don't get me wrong.
He's after his yellow whale.
That book was
really had.
Oh dear God!
Some epic moments in Moby Dick, and this one seemed a little flat the whole time.
Ooh, wow, James.
You didn't hear that?
No. Oh wow. Oof. I
see you edit that one.
I'm going to leave it. I do think, going back, I do think the strength of this movie was the interior shots. There were a few scenes that showed, it was a soundstage, but generally you got to see how small, how cramped. The best part, I think the scene that shows that best is when they're getting the depth charges in the torpedo room.
Yeah.
And you could see their bed racks above there, and, I actually thought that scene was probably the best scene in there, showing how tight everybody was, because everybody's like, on top of torpedoes, trying to do this, trying to do that, trying to stop the water from
under torpedoes,
just to get by people.
Yeah, the poor blonde kid. By the way, what a crappy way to die! Ah, thump.
That would suck.
Don't you think instead of screaming, you might, move your ass?
You think?
My whole
I would have done, some kind of, like backward somersault thing just to get out of that little spot instead of,
or just get your leg crushed or something, or just an arm,
some sort of Jackie Chan monkey flip thing.
Just catch the torpedo and pick it up
a little bit,
My whole thought through that scene was, boy, I bet he felt happy for picking lucky number 7.
No, that torpedo was number 6.
My whole feeling of that was, I bet he felt like a dick for throwing that money overboard.
Yeah, no joke.
Obviously, the number was pretty lucky. You won your money.
Yeah, I kind of was thinking, I felt bad for him because everybody was mad at them. And then I find out that, he chucked it overboard. I'm like, you deserve it.
All that would have done was further vindicate my feeling that 7 was lucky for me.
Yeah.
I would have not only felt like, shit, 7's lucky, but we're going to kick the shit out of this mission because we're going to grid part 7.
By the way, those alarms and klaxons constantly going off would drive me up a wall.
No.
Yeah.
All right,
sound the alarm.
As far as this one goes, it's the best submarine movie I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Ever.
Down Periscope is pretty up there, but this one's
forgetting Hunt for Red October or purposely K-19 possibly.
No,
see, I
didn't like K-19.
K-19
neither did I, but I thought it was still it at least paced better.
Well,
but still, I didn't like it.
I think
and
we got
everybody loves to rip shit about the accent in Hunt for Red October.
Well, here's the thing. I think you got to compare apples to apples here. This is the best World War II submarine movie I've ever seen. I know they're not a lot out there, but comparing that was pretty good. Because K-19, Hunt for Red October, are kind of the same feel to the movie.
I respectfully submit The Incredible Mr. Limpet.
I love that movie, actually.
Because it's an awesome movie, and how many awesome sub scenes did they have in that movie?
I did not like that movie.
I love Don Knotts.
What the hell is the matter with you?
I didn't like that movie.
See, I love Don Knotts. I'd watch that guy read a dictionary.
I didn't like that movie.
Oh, always been a huge fan of Don Knotts.
It must have been just different childhood thing.
By that age, she was watching stuff like, Ichi the Killer or whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. I was like, it's so, I'm watching something like Night of the Living Dead or, Return of the Living Dead.
But it's Don Knotts. Come on, Don Knotts is awesome.
And then you got Don Knotts with some little cartoon fish jumping around. It's like, here's the question of
ladyfish. She was screaming at the other ships.
So here's the question of the half hour, Ryan. What do you give this movie?
A 2,
Deuces.
And I might have at one point given it a 3, just based on the novelty of it, but it doesn't hold up as far as I'm concerned.
So what do you give it?
A 2.
A 2. What about you, James?
I gotta give it a 3. I thought it was better than not. I didn't think I was gonna enjoy it as much as I did. I think I came in here with lowered expectations than Ryan.
Okay, this is where I'm gonna get looked at strange. I give it a 4 to 5.
I expected that from you.
I mean, look, dude, like I remember last week I was giving you shit for not liking modern comedies and hating Will Ferrell. And
okay.
The point is you just like a different type of movie, and I like some of these types of movies, and that's obviously why we do this. You know what I mean? To watch different types of movies. So it's totally cool that you're into this.
I like this movie. I have to say there are some scenes that do not hold up that left me going, seriously?
As long as you're willing to admit that.
I mean, there's a couple of scenes that look like a child's bathtub toy. But overall I like this movie. I mean, I like its simple storytelling, lack of Michael Bay style storytelling, which I love.
Yeah.
Why are you throwing Michael Bay to that mix? It's got nothing to do with that.
See,
He was way before him.
The reason why I do that is Michael Bay is the antithesis of no story, all explosions, all fast forwarding, no pacing, blow shit up and hope people don't see I can't direct very well.
Well, you can't compare Michael Bay to this movie, though.
What I'm saying, it's the lack of Michael Bay style storytelling, which happens to be a
Michael
modern
Bay
problem.
Style storytelling didn't exist in 1958.
That's kind of what I'm saying. How do you throw Michael Bay under the bus on this one?
See, I do that.
I know you don't like him.
No, I do that because this movie would never have been made today because it's too slow. Audiences, even for an hour and a half, would not be able to sit through this movie.
Well, there's things that are slow. I mean, it would have been slow pacing, but there's more nuance that you're able to see nowadays. You know what I mean? Actors play nuance instead of doing these, like I said, over the top sort of theatrical stage performances.
I think this would have been more of an independent, more of a low budget movie back in the day instead of what it was, but I really like it.
Okay.
And so I have some movie rumors coming up, and the one that's interesting is the one that talks about the Affleck Batman.
I like that we're not calling it news anymore because it is all just generally movie rumors.
Yeah. But this one is the one that I think is an interesting play. Ben Affleck is supposed to play the tired and weary Batman.
Okay.
He's the guy who's been doing it for a while. He's done being nice, and then he's introduced to the Boy Scout Superman.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're not talking about his.
No.
Okay. We won't go there.
So this is the news I've been waiting for, because if this is true, it has me more into it.
Okay.
How he's going to play the fight weary Batman.
Okay.
The question is,
I kind of see. That doesn't make me. It doesn't change my view.
Well, the question of whether he can pull it off is still there.
I don't think that he can't pull it off now that I've calmed down a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Now, if only the internet would calm down.
Honestly,
Second that one.
I've calmed down a little bit. I still am not excited about it. I still am kind of still angry that I've been, Afflecked. But, I'm holding back now. I'm just going to say, I got to wait and see. There's nothing I can do. Mm-hmm. I can complain all I want. It's not going to change the fact that he's got the role. I hope he does a good job with it. But even that new thing that you just mentioned, it doesn't really change my view of I got to sit back and just wait and see.
The question, I think.
Well, and another thing, there's a podcast that Kevin Smith does, and obviously he knows Affleck from the Mallrats days and things, called Batman on Batman. Basically, Kevin Smith does a podcast about Batman all the time.
And he likes Affleck.
But he obviously had to bring it up, seeing as they know each other.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The reason that I brought this up is that he had mentioned in there when Smith had bought Ben Affleck's house when he moved to California, Ben Affleck apparently was really excited to show him about one particular thing. He took him into his study and he move some particular book, and it slid across, and there was like the entrance, just the entrance or whatever, but to a Batcave.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously he's been a fan, for a long time, if he had that installed into his house. So I think he wants to do a good job also. It's not something that he feels like
I'm not saying that he doesn't want to. I'm just saying I'm holding it back and hoping that he can.
Here's the question. And
to be honest.
The ultimate question comes down to, can he do what Heath Ledger did? Because if you remember the rumors...
I hope so.
Because if you remember the rumors after you heard, because he did Brokeback Mountain, then you heard the rumors... Heath Ledger's playing the Joker, and everybody was up in arms over it.
I wasn't.
And, there were a lot of people pissed.
I know, but
and
I actually liked Heath Ledger before he did Brokeback, and then
you were doubting. I remember you were
That's because he did Brokeback.
See, the question... Look, people doubt because people can't see it in their heads immediately. Then when they see it, look, people flipped Michael Keaton's shit when he was going to play Batman. They said, how is this Mr. Mom Beetlejuice funny man going to play Batman?
Don't talk bad about Beetlejuice.
This is what I'm hoping.
I'm not, but I'm saying they
damn right.
figure from that to that. You know what I mean? And this has happened a lot before.
This is what I'm hoping. I'm really hoping that he does an amazing job, because Heath Ledger, with all the doubters, did what everybody calls and will always be the definitive live-action version of the Joker.
I agree.
And sure. I'm really hoping that it turns out that everybody loves him in this role. I'm a little doubtful just because of the movie and who's making it, but I'm still hoping that it's going to be good.
I'm not doubtful for who's making it. As a matter of fact, I'm excited for who's making it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Ryan. I like what he did with Man of Steel. I don't think it was... I think there was things off on it.
Well, what I mean about that is it going to be Batman and Robin, or closer to Batman Begins? I'm thinking it's going to be more cartoonish.
It's not. Look, they're never going to do a Batman and Robin style. Please don't start putting that out there like that. We're going to revert to that.
Well, no, I don't mean. I just meant the style, and that's the problem that worries me.
I'm saying stylistically, they're never going to do that. I mean, that might have been the death of superhero movies for the longest time.
That was how
I went again, but They have basically the power of DC behind them this time. All the comic book writers, everybody who's been writing Batman and Superman shit for 30 years, or drawing them even, is coming in and having an opinion on this. So
you gotta have an opinion.
And that's hope. I'm hoping it turns out good, because I want to see it. I've always wanted to see a live action version of that movie. And the next one is one I'm actually kind of sad about if you're a fan of Japanese animation.
Okay, good.
Studio Ghibli, excuse me, I'm horrible at pronouncing things. Co-founder Hayao Miyazaki has announced his official retirement. Which...
What has he done? I don't know him.
Well, you might know him if you're a fan of animation. He did the Nazca and the Valley of the Wind, Castle in the Sky, My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery, Princess Mononoke, and Spirited Away. He's done a lot of movies.
Did he Howl's Moving Castle too?
Yeah, he did that one too. And this is he's done a lot of movies.
How old is he?
He's 70s.
Okay, well, let the man retire.
Oh, I know. I'm just sad because I love. Nazca and the Valley of Wind is probably one of my all-time favorite animations. I'm sad to see it, but it's cool though. I mean, he just released his final movie called The Wind Rises, which sounds interesting.
I have to check it out.
I have a short synopsis if you guys are interested in what it's about.
Go ahead.
It seems to be about a guy who wants to be an aircraft pilot but can't because he's nearsighted. So it's about a guy growing up and helping the Japanese aircraft industry, and he falls in love and just kind of helps aircraft. And it kind of seems to be more like a life story versus Howl's Moving Castle or Princess Mononoke.
Okay.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
Well, hey, I actually really like this guy, and I'm kind of sad he's retiring, but at 70 years old, I don't actually blame him.
Wow, right.
Sure, the world shares your grief.
I actually know a ton of people that like this guy, so I think you might be in the minority there, Princess.
Nah, I understand. Anyway.
The movie itself I'll be honest, doesn't sound really exciting. I'm hoping it's more like Millennium Actress, which you actually read it and it sounds boring, but it was actually a really good movie. So we'll see.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so this moment we've all been waiting for. You teased me before we even started this. That
Yeah, I did. Okay.
I feel like I should have some, morning radio, dun dun dun, lightning bolts and stuff.
So it's my pick coming up. I told Jeff that for his pick for this theme that we're doing, this is going to be my response to it.
Oh no.
Dun,
dun, dun. The most epic drama ever.
Oh. You're pretty close. So if you, Brian, do you know the name Darren Aronofsky?
Oh, fuck yeah. Hell yeah, buddy.
Okay, yeah. So, Brian, can you tell me what movie he did in the year 2000?
Was that the year 2000?
That was the year 2000.
Oh, shit.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Requiem for a Dream.
If you have never seen this movie, Requiem for a Dream is on the table.
You kids out there might know Jared Leto as a singer. Before that, he was an actor.
Damn, I've been avoiding this movie.
So, and Ryan will find out what Jeff's pick is. I don't think he knows what it is, but yeah, it's a valid response to Jeff's pick. And ladies and gentlemen, if you do have Netflix, it is on Netflix at the moment.
Yes, it is. It just recently got added. I remember seeing it.
Yep.
Wow, so. This has been a movie I've been avoiding, so thanks.
You're welcome.
Have you ever seen this, John?
No, I've never wanted to.
Okay, so you've just been avoiding it for fear of watching it?
The description, it's one of those movies that never sound like it interested me.
I could see from reading a description about it how you can glean that.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies you sit down like, oh, what's this about? And then you just kind of like, whoa, where's this going? Yeah.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
yeah, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Anyway. It's not like Clockwork Orange. Whoa, I hope.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, I gave Run Silent, Run Deep a 4 out of 5. Ryan gave it a 2 out of 5. James gave it a 3 out of 5. We'll see you next week.